Yay!
We're live.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning or good afternoon.
I know. I'm like, is it morning? Is it afternoon? We're like basically almost there. Sunday afternoon, but yeah. Hi, everyone. Let's see who is around. Oops. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, perfect. There's always a little bit of a delay with Facebook Live, but we're on. If you are watching me and Amanda live, give us a like, say hello, share a comment, let us know if you're there. I'm going to be toggling back and forth as I always do between the Zoom screen and the Facebook Live, but would love to know who's around today. Also, what you're doing on this Sunday morning/afternoon. Amanda and I are calling from Jersey. Yay. And I think it's supposed to be nicer out today, right? It's supposed to be in the 40s. Yeah. Amanda's going wedding dress shopping.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and then after our call today, I'll probably just go out and hang out in Hoboken with the fam, with my son Asher and my husband Evan. But we wanted to jump in here today first to say hi to you all. This is kind of an impromptu call. Amanda has been a member of the Work Bigger community, again, since the early days. So very, very much like Leah. We had a call with Leah on Friday. So, if you all didn't catch that, definitely check it out. But yeah, Amanda, you've been with us for quite some time. Mm-hmm. You joined the Work Bigger program after the pilot. So you joined in spring of 2017.
Correct.
So about a year ago. And it's been amazing getting to know you. I feel like, we've become friends throughout this year. We met through the Lady Project, which is another amazing community for women. And yeah, I'm excited to have her on today because Amanda, to me, one of the biggest things that I've seen with you, and we were talking about this a little bit before just now, is your confidence. Mm-hmm. And really what I've been able to see you do in this past year. I feel like you have made so much progress with your work, and just wanted to jump in here to share it with everyone. So I want to talk about a couple of things before we get into me asking questions. Do you want to give a little bit of background to make sure everyone who's listening in or who will join after just has a good sense of your background and who you are and all that good stuff?
Sure. So my name is Amanda Sigcha, and I am from Jersey, so New York metro area. I studied business management and criminal justice in college. I worked as an analyst for the government for about 8 years, and suddenly hit a roadblock in a career decision. Do I stay on this path or do I pursue something, corporate sector or nonprofit? And I decided to go corporate. And so I worked for Time Inc. for about 3 years. And then after those 3 years, I met Belma, and I was sort of at another roadblock. What am I doing with my life? I needed to find that mission. And so I joined the Work Bigger program, and I pretty much got clear on what it is that my mission is, and super grateful. And so my mission is to pretty much foster an environment for dogs and their dog families that pretty much is inclusive to who they are, and pretty much provide an environment that has compassion, because I think the world needs a lot more of it.
Thank you for sharing that. I remember when you and I met, and we were doing a pilot for the Work Bigger community. I remember it was on Slack. And I remember you and I had lunch, and you were feeling really overwhelmed and stressed out. And you're like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do next. So can you talk a little bit about that time period? And what
I was very frustrated with where I was, because I don't know why. I feel like we sort of put this pressure on, like we need to figure out the rest of our lives in like a short amount of period because we're wasting time. And so I felt like I was, reading books and going to conferences and trying to figure it out through other people's stories instead of focusing on my own. And it sort of was frustrating now looking back on how much time essentially I put into, trying to connect with other people's stories instead of focusing in on myself. And so when I started to, speak to you and connect with you and really resonate with the Work Bigger, program, it became super clear that, doing the program was an investment into myself, but overall into my future and, my family. And I think it's really important that, you do work that you love because it affects those around you. And so I'm really, really happy that I did it.
I'm so happy you did it too.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you just said, that you are spending time focusing on other stories versus your own. And I feel like today it's very difficult not to do that because there's so much content out there. There's so much information, which is amazing. I think it's been able to propel a lot of people forward. We have so many more resources at our fingertips than we did 10 years ago. So it's really valuable, but at the same time, I know it can feel really overwhelming. So can you talk to us about your story and your mission and where that mission came from?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So with the Work Bigger program, I sort of honed in on what my strengths were, as well as what it is that I value. And when I adopted my dog in 2005, I sort of realized it was life-changing in the sense that, my priorities were now with a dog, and it seems so crazy, but when you adopt a dog, you're sort of giving that dog a second chance. And so to me, it was really important that I gave it, 100% of my time when I could. And so it was really important to me to give him that compassion and that life that he obviously didn't have. And so when I say that it was life-changing, like I started doing activities and things that I normally wouldn't have explored. So like things like going to a dog-friendly hotel and going on vacation and going hiking in a park that allowed dogs and, going to restaurants that were dog-friendly. And so it really took on a path of its own. And, with the Work Bigger program, I realized how important that was and how important it was, more importantly, for me to give back to that shelter that gave me him. And so I started doing a lot of volunteer work and really got connected with the mission of dogs and dogs that are in shelters.
I love that. And if we have any dog moms out there in the community, I know we have a few, let us know if that resonates with you. I know having a pet is like having a family. It's a family member essentially. Really? So I love that you're sharing that, Amanda. Can you tell us now how you're executing on this mission and how you're bringing it to life right now?
So in the fall, I actually honed in on exactly what it is that I wanted to go forward, because I set concrete action items, with the Work Bigger program. And those action items were to actually launch the business and sort of hone in on who it was that I wanted to target as far as, my clients. And so I launched in October, and I did a pop-up at a local dog friendly park that was a fundraiser for the animal shelter that I adopted Fargo from. And so pretty much what I did was, and what I'm currently trying to focus on, is narrowing in on my business model. So I did a dog-friendly pop-up in which you could purchase coffee for yourself and then a dog treat, which I've named a doggiato for your dog. And so the whole, concept is that you can potentially go to a dog-friendly coffee shop and have a great time with your dog and not have to worry about, do you leave your dog at home?
And what has it been like putting yourself out there and bringing this mission to life?
So it's been, thankfully, the community is so supportive, the community in which I live, and it's super dog friendly. So it's been really, really awesome to get positive feedback as well as, constructive feedback. So, what people are looking for, what it is that they want, ultimately what it is that will make them a potential client. And then more importantly, it's sort of finding a balance. So for me, I work full time. I wish that I could, do this full time, and that's the goal. But right now I can't. And so it's just finding a balance of working full time and dedicating the time that I need to the business and getting ready for future pop-ups in the spring and the summer, which is where most of the dog events are.
Yeah. And finding balance, I feel like it's such a big topic, right? And I feel like it's really, really hard. And I think that fear of burnout, I hear this all the time, like I want to do this and that, but it's going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of energy. I don't know if I will be able to do that. Can you talk a little bit about that process? What do you do now to find that balance, especially because you're working full time to help fund your new business?
For me, it's been it's always been a constant struggle, but what I find super helpful is scheduling my week out. So, having a specific dedicated time that I'm going to allocate to whatever it is that, I'm working on that week for the business. So if it's, dedicating an hour or two, I make sure that I schedule it into my daily activities, because if I don't schedule it in, it's so easy to say I'm going to do it and then I don't. So for me, it's scheduling. It's also surrounding myself with people that are going to keep me accountable. And I've noticed that a lot. So if I surround myself with people that are like, how's Fargo's dog co, what's the update? And it happens all the time. And people don't realize it, but it keeps me going, because it's like, okay, I can't let them down. I can't let them down. I need to have an update. And so I need to work on it. So it's a combination of a lot of scheduling, but also keeping myself accountable with my, my circle.
Yeah. And what would you say, I want to talk about your strengths specifically. What would you say is one of your greatest strengths that has allowed you to get to this place?
I would say it, like you mentioned in the beginning, it's a combination of like confidence and knowing that if I put my mind to it, like I can pretty much accomplish anything. I feel like we often fight with ourselves and our minds. Like our minds are our toughest critics. And I constantly find myself trying to find ways to be more positive and have that like confidence, like saying little things like, yeah, if I do this or I reach this goal, then, what's the next goal? Constantly giving myself ways to keep myself accountable, but also achieve what it is that I want to.
Yeah, I feel like confidence is such a foundational thing. I know for me, like getting a business off the ground, that's been one of the things that I've constantly had to work on. And I've learned a few things as I've been working with my coach too, is that confidence looks different for different people, right? So what does it mean for you to be confident? I heard staying positive. What else? And because I think this is really important, I think if we can all tap into that confidence a little bit more, we can execute and be in action a lot more versus coming from that place of fear, which is often what holds us back. So what does confidence look like to you outside of the positive mindset?
Yeah. So for me, it's a combination of looking back on like where I was to where I am now and how successful, I've been. And then also, like I mentioned before, just knowing that anytime I had like a crazy goal of mine, what it took to get there and knowing that I accomplished it. So for me, that's where my confidence comes from. It's also surrounding myself with literally like, I have amazing friends and they're so supportive. And I know I've said it before, but your circle literally empowers you. And so for me, it drives me, and that's where my confidence comes from.
Yeah. So recognizing your progress. So I think sometimes we're so hard on ourselves. We're like, oh, that's no big deal, but it is a big deal.
Yes, we have to literally celebrate all of them.
Yeah. And then the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Totally. Awesome. What else? I'm wondering. So let's jump back to the program a little bit. I want to hear, after you underwent Work Bigger and you went through the program, what became possible for you? with your business and with your mission and really with your life overall?
So for me, making the decision to do the program was pretty much a decision to focus my attention solely to this for that specific amount of time. So the 8 weeks, like, okay, I'm going to dedicate a specific amount of time to this program. And that in itself was huge for me, because the focus, because I feel like sometimes we don't, we say we want to accomplish something and then we get so easily distracted. So for me, the focus was huge. And throughout the program, I started to realize that eventually, I don't know if you remember this, Belma, but it sort of was easy in the sense that I started to figure it out and it just progressed.
I remember that with you.
Yes.
And I remember having the calls with you and you were like, this is making sense to me. And I almost felt like once you started, there was nothing stopping you.
Exactly. So for me, it was just kind of like an evolving story that sort of I just needed to focus on. So it made that possible, which I think was pretty awesome, because I thought it was going to be a lot harder. And there were weeks where, it was tough because you have to really, really dig deep.
Yeah.
But seeing that, like, the progression and the story sort of evolved to where it came in at the end with the mission and, my action steps. Like, there was no way that I would have figured out, like, on day one that I would be, like, pursuing entrepreneurship at the end of the 8-week program. Like, it was one of the things that were on my list, but I had, like, 4 other career paths that I was thinking about. So it made that possible, which, I'm forever grateful to you for that.
Oh, thank you. It's so funny because I was rereading your interview. We did an interview with Amanda in Work Bigger Stories on the blog, and you talked about wanting to start a sneaker company when you were younger. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So to me, and one of the things that we do in the program is also help you connect the dots, because I think sometimes when you're like so close to it, it can feel really challenging. But I remember reading that and I'm like, of course she wanted to start a company. Like, I'm not surprised at all. Like, look at what she's doing now. And
yes,
you're working on building this amazing company that is really mission driven. But what I see with you is that you're so connected to it on a deep level. And I think that's really amazing.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
It's incredible. Like, it's just so, for me, it's so frustrating as a dog mom to, like, not be able to do the things that I want to do with him. And obviously it's a combination of, Department of Health regulations, which there's nothing that I can do about that, but there is. And that's why Fargo's Dog Co. is what it is, because I feel like, if I can provide that space where dog owners can feel like, they're not limited in any way, why not? Yeah.
And it's tapping into a big pain point. I'd be really curious to hear from our community members too, what pain points you're currently struggling with, like with Amanda and her launching Fargo's Dog Co. It stems from something so personal, right? And your work doesn't necessarily have to be that personal. Like, there's, no rule saying that, you're not going to find fulfilling work unless you're connected to it that deeply. But I think for you, that's a big driver.
It is.
Yeah. There was another question that I had for you. Oh, now I remember. Roadblocks, right? So, like, what are some of the challenges that you're facing today? Because it's life, right? It's like you've made progress. You are confident in your vision and with what you're creating, and it's amazing to see that. But we all have or continue to have challenges. So can you talk through some of those now?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the biggest one is balance. Like, pretty much dedicating the amount of time that I want to get things done while working the full-time job. So that's always a constant battle that I struggle with. I recently just got engaged, and so yay! Although it's great, it's been a huge distraction because I'm now planning a wedding. So that's less time for the business. Yeah, it's soon. It's in August.
Yeah.
So it's been a struggle to sort of dedicate the amount of time to it that I want to. And in itself, the business end it's been a struggle to sort of hone in on what my business model is going to be. Only because there's so many factors. Sorry, that's Fargo in the background running around. Just sort of honing in on what approach and what model I want to go with.
Yeah, but that's, I feel like, one of the most challenging parts, and that takes a lot of time. And honing in on your target audience takes a lot of time. And I feel like once you are able to identify that through a lot of testing, researching, experimenting, then you'll be able to, to execute more quickly. But that's the foundation. That's what's going to make your business sustainable.
I know. It's exciting. It's exciting. Despite the struggles, it's very exciting.
Yeah. No, I'm really, really excited for you and to see what's next, and also to see Fargo's Dog Co. come to life. And Fargo's an amazing dog.
He really is.
Awesome. Yay. What else? Any other, I think, for women who are feeling really stuck right now, we have a good number of women in the group who are in transition. And I hear a lot of stories of, like, I'm trying to hone in on what I want to do next. And I know, like, the overwhelm that comes with that.
Of course.
So, because you've been through it and you've come out on the other side, like, what are some tips or advice that you would give to women who are in transition and currently just, not feeling like they have a lot of clarity or confidence and they're stuck?
So for me, it was literally, I think, I forget who it was that you interviewed that mentioned the same thing. But for me, it's been just literally connecting with other entrepreneurs, whether it's in my industry or not. For me, that's been huge because I can sort of learn from, different aspects of their story and, ultimately what they did. And that's how we met. So I wanted to connect with other, entrepreneurs. So I joined Lady Project, and then you and I connected, and pretty much, we're here now. It's like 2 years later. But for me, that's been huge because I learn, even if it's one thing from all of the entrepreneurs that I speak to, it's been so valuable in guiding me in different directions. And so I think just talking to people, other women that are, positive and want to help. Sometimes you may not know that right away, but all it takes is let's grab lunch, or let's, grab a drink after work, or when can we connect, grab coffee, and just, talking. Because I think a lot of us are in that same space and we don't realize it because we're too afraid to tell our story.
Yeah, and I feel like before you tap into the right community, it can feel really, really intimidating.
It is.
Yeah, because it's like, you almost don't know where to start, right? And I found that when you are making that transition to doing mission-driven work, whatever it is, whether it's within your company, whether it's building a freelance career, consulting business, launching, a restaurant, it doesn't matter. I feel like you have to start somewhere. You have to put yourself out there. You're probably you're gonna look back and be like, oh, I was so early then, but that's okay. Finding that safe space is so important.
So important.
Yeah, where you can just put out and ask.
Gosh, and that was with you. So remember when we first met, I was like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable sharing my story. And the fact that I'm even doing this live, it's crazy.
I know.
Like, I really didn't feel comfortable sharing my story because it in many ways is very sensitive, but only if I let it. And so I've sort of started coming out of my shell once I became, a member of the pilot community. Yeah. And it's been interesting to see how far I've come.
Yeah.
But it's safe is so important.
Totally. Well, what do you think changed for you? Like, what, moved you from that really apprehensive feeling to feeling that comfort to share?
I just feel like, like it sounds so cliche, but like for me, like I'm really big on like connecting and knowing, like from vibes. I don't know. It sounds weird, but
not at all. Not at all.
I feel like you just know, like for me, if I'm not in a comfortable space, I'm not going to open up. And I feel like Work Bigger provides that safe space where it's, you know, a community. Like, we just formed an accountability group with 3 of the girls in the program, and oh my gosh, like, I am so comfortable just sharing my story, and it's crazy. We like keep in touch, and like, it's just like we're friends now. Like, it's more than just, you know, acquaintances because we're part of the program. It's like we've built friendships.
Oh, and who is that with? Is that with Kendall and Leah?
Yes, and Stephanie.
And Stephanie, oh my God, all you
Yes,
ladies, Stephanie is
I
another god
know.
mommy.
Yes.
And what is that like? Like, what has the accountability, what is that process like, and what has it done for you guys?
So I think I met Kendall at one of the work bigger gatherings in the city.
Yes, the happy
And
hour.
she at the time was thinking about doing the program. Since then has done the program. And she just reached out and said she wanted to start, you know, an accountability group. And I guess she connected with Leah and Stephanie in some way through the program. And
Yeah,
so
they all
she
did the
brought,
program together.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's what the connection comes from.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then we just had like one of our first calls, and the goal is to do it monthly so that we can just sort of see, you know, what we have going on and how we can help each other if we can, and pretty much bouncing ideas off of one another and what we can do better or what we can try. And it's been awesome. The first call was awesome. I was like, yay, this is amazing.
I'm so glad. So for anyone who's in our Facebook community and they're like, what are you guys talking about? So there is another community for women who go through the Work Bigger program or the short course, whichever, or if you participate with our one-on-one coaching, that program's available to you. So what Amanda's referring to is program graduates coming together and forming an accountability group to continue making progress on their goals, which I think is so powerful. I love that you're all doing that. I remember speaking with Kendall about it, and I said, accountability partnerships can feel really challenging, but make sure that, you know, whoever you connect with, you have similar goals. It's going to keep you on point. And all 4 of you ladies, I think, are in very similar situations. So I'm so excited to hear that you're working together. Accountability partnerships for me have been absolutely key. Lindsay Tabas, who is in our community as well, she's been my accountability partner before Work Bigger even existed. And it's amazing just to have that support, that conversation, to be able to call someone that you trust and be like, I'm really stressed out. Oh my God. Like, what am I doing? I just need to bounce off this idea off you. And I think especially for you, because you're working on your business model, I mean, you know, you can just lose your mind after a while if you don't like share it with someone.
Yes.
So,
and sometimes just having that, you know, like just a quick chat makes you just feel so much better. Because sometimes, you know, your mind is just going and you're just, you know, focused and getting work done, but you don't realize, like, sharing it and your accomplishments for, you know, that month or whatever it is, like, oh my gosh, I've done a lot.
yeah.
So it's good to just reflect.
I love it. Awesome. Amanda, I'm so happy we're chatting. I'm going to do a quick check-in.
Awesome.
Anyone is here, and it's hard for me to see through Zoom, but if you're there, let us know. Give us a like, give us a comment. This is going to be here. So Amanda, can the ladies hit you up if they have any questions about?
Of course. Yes, please do. I'm Amanda Aline on Facebook. So my last name is not on there. Again, part of my old self.
I love it. And Fargo's Dog Co. on Instagram, right?
Yes, Fargo's Dog Co. I'll put it in the comments.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I'm so excited. But have an amazing time wedding dress shopping.
Thank you. And you know how grateful I am to you for everything. So thank you. And if we had a world of women who are mission driven, it would be an amazing world. So thank you for starting it and continuing it and doing the great work that you're doing, because it's so important.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. It really does.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.